There's one thing women often don't realize. Men don't protect the weak. They protect the one who makes them want to become the best version of themselves. Have you ever noticed why some men are willing to sacrifice everything for a woman, even if they never say why, and why others, even if they love, show nothing but coldness and distance? So what makes the difference? What makes a man quietly, persistently, and powerfully become your shield without anyone asking him to? Here is the interesting part. What makes a man want to protect you for life isn't your looks, your skills, or your words. It's the energy you carry without even knowing. It's the way you enter his space and make him feel alive, seen, and truly needed. There are 5 small things you might be doing, and if you are, you've already touched the deepest part of his heart. He may never say it in words, but hell show it through every quiet action for the rest of his life. Stay with me until the end of this video, because the 5th thing is the most powerful and invisible of all, and it's the very reason you'll never be replaceable in the mind of a man who's truly felt something real for you. There's something special that happens. When a man doesn't just like you, he wants to protect you, not because you asked him to, not because you needed saving, but because something in you awakened something in him. In this chapter, we begin where it all starts, with the quiet, almost invisible things you do that speak to the deepest part of a man. You see, most men won't come out and say it. They won't always tell you, "You make me want to be better," or "You make me feel needed in a way that doesn't hurt." But if you pay attention, you'll see it in how they show up. And it all begins with one powerful shift. He feels needed, not used. That may sound simple, but it's everything. Because when a man feels used for his money, his time, his energy, he starts to withdraw. But when he feels needed for who he is, his presence, his protection, his heart, that's when he leans in. Not just out of duty, but out of desire. Let me tell you a story. There was a woman named Lila. She didn't ask for much, but one day her tire blew out on a quiet road. She could have called anyone, but she called him. Not because he was the only one available, but because she trusted him. She made him feel like her first choice, and something shifted. He didn't just feel like a guy, he felt like her man. That's what being needed does. It speaks to a man's masculine core, not in a way that diminishes you, but in a way that honors the natural dance between strength and softness. When you let a man show up and you receive it with warmth, not control, not testing you, plant a seed that says, "I trust you." And trust, that's what makes a man want to stay, to give, to protect. So ask yourself, do I let him see that I need his presence, not just his performance? Do I give space for him to offer, instead of always doing it all myself? Because a woman who can receive with grace awakens the kind of love that doesn't just look strong, it feels unbreakable. And this is only the beginning. There's a kind of strength most people never talk about. It's quiet, it's soft. It doesn't shout or demand attention, but when it's present, everything changes. This strength doesn't live in your muscles or your voice. It lives in your energy, the way you enter a room, the way you listen, the way you stay calm when everything feels loud. We've all been told to be strong, independent, unshakable. But somewhere along the way, many of us believed that meant becoming harder, colder, less open. We thought softness was weakness. That being emotional made us fragile. But here's the truth. Softness is not weakness. Softness is strength in its most beautiful form, because it takes courage to stay soft in a world that keeps trying to harden you. It takes real power to say, "I can feel everything," and still stay open. When a woman embraces her softness without shame, without apology, something incredible happens. She stops chasing. She stops performing. She simply becomes. And the people around her feel it, especially men. You see, every man carries something inside him called the anima, his inner connection to the feminine. Most of the time, he hides it, covers it, even runs from it. But when he's with a woman who lives from her softness, not to please others, but because it's who she is, he feels something awaken. He doesn't always understand it, but he feels it. He starts to breathe easier. He feels safe, like he can drop the armor. He can stop being the strong one for just a moment because your softness gives him permission to be human. And that's what makes him stay. Not because you begged him, not because you proved you're the best, but because being near you feels like peace. Softness isn't about being passive. It's about being deeply present. It's when you say no with warmth in your voice. It's when you listen without interrupting. It's when you let someone cry without fixing their pain. Let me tell you a story. There was a woman named Layla. She wasn't loud or flashy. She didn't fight to be noticed. But when you were around her, you felt calm. You felt seen. One evening, a man she cared about opened up to her. He told her about a mistake he made years ago, one that still haunted him. She didn't gasp. She didn't offer advice. She simply looked at him and placed her hand over his. She didn't say a word, and somehow that silence healed more than any words could. That night, he said something he'd never said to anyone before. He said, "With you, I feel like I can finally breathe." That's the power of softness. It doesn't force connection, it invites it. And when a man feels invited, not pressured, he chooses you with his whole heart. So ask yourself, when was the last time you let yourself be soft? Not quiet out of fear, not small out of shame, but soft because you trust your own strength, because you know that your emotions are not too much. They are your magic, because you understand that your stillness is not emptiness, it's presence. Every time you choose softness, you tell the world I am safe with myself. And those who are meant for me will feel that too. You don't need to fight to be loved. You don't need to shout to be heard. You don't need to harden to be strong. Because the woman who knows how to stay soft is the woman no one ever forgets. Sometimes a man will fall for you quietly and then pull away just as quietly. And you're left wondering, what changed? Did I do something wrong? Did he stop feeling what he once felt? The truth is, when a man pulls back, it's not always because he's lost interest. Sometimes it's because he feels something too real, too deep, too powerful. And that scares him. This is the part of love most women don't see, not because it's hidden, but because it's silent. In Chapter 2, we talked about the power of softness and how it awakens something inside a man. Now we're going even deeper into the place where love becomes overwhelming. For you, connection might feel like coming home, but for him, connection can feel like losing control. Because deep inside, every man is a part of him that wants love, and a part that fears what love will demand of him. Love asks him to show up, to feel things he's been taught to bury, to be seen in places he spent years hiding. And when that kind of woman walks into his life, the one who sees him, not just his image, his first instinct might be to run. Not because he wants to lose her, but because he's afraid of losing himself. Let me explain. There's a story of a man named Caleb. He met a woman who was different. She didn't chase him. She didn't try to impress him. She just was open, kind, grounded. And without meaning to, she saw through his walls. She saw the boy behind the man, the pain behind the jokes, the heart behind the armor. And that terrified him, because no one had ever made him feel so exposed and so safe at the same time. He started to feel things he didn't know how to explain. So what did he do? He pulled away. No call, no explanation, just silence. And the woman. She was heartbroken. But what she didn't know was that he wasn't leaving her. He was leaving himself. Because when a man feels emotionally unprepared, even love can feel dangerous. It touches parts of him he hasn't healed yet. It asks him to feel, and that's something he may not be ready for. So what should you do if this happens? Should you chase him? Should you pull back too? No. You stay soft but grounded. You don't beg. You don't explain. You let your presence speak. Because if he's meant for you, he will return. Not because you reminded him, but because he remembered who he was when he was with you. That's the power of emotional imprint. You don't have to be loud to leave a mark. You just have to be real. So if he pulls away, don't panic. Let him go find himself. And if he finds the strength to return, it won't be because you pulled him back. It'll be because your love gave him the courage to walk toward what once scared him. That is what a real connection does. It doesn't trap, it invites. And if he's the right one, he'll choose you again. This time, not from fear, but from freedom. So what happens when he does come back? After the silence, after the distance, after the space he took to figure things out. What do you do when he returns, but doesn't have the words to explain it? Let's talk about that. In Chapter 3, we explored what makes a man pull away the fear, the vulnerability, the emotional overwhelm. Now let's talk about what makes him want to stay. What makes him choose to protect you, not just with actions, but with presence. Because here's something most women don't hear enough. A man doesn't fall for the woman who never gets hurt. He falls for the woman who stays soft even after being hurt. The woman who doesn't close her heart when she's disappointed. The woman who feels it all but still believes in connection. That's what makes you unforgettable. When he comes back, he's watching you closely, not your words, but your energy. He wants to know, is it safe to be here again? Can I show up fully without being punished for leaving? Can I be honest and still be loved? And here's the powerful truth. You don't need to make him feel guilty. You don't need to demand an explanation. Your softness can be the bridge. Your stillness can be the answer. Because when a man truly returns, not just physically, but emotionally, he's doing something rare. He's choosing vulnerability. And the way you respond to that will shape everything that follows. Let me tell you a story. There was a woman named Iris. She loved deeply, and she had been hurt more than once. But one day, the man who had pulled away from her showed up at her door. He didn't bring flowers. He didn't have a speech. He simply said, "I'm sorry." She didn't rush to fill the silence. She didn't list the ways he had hurt her. She just looked into his eyes and said, "I missed you too." That moment changed everything. Not because she forgot the pain, but because she chose love over pride. Now listen carefully. Forgiveness doesn't mean erasing the past. It means not letting the past erase what's still possible. And you, yes, you have the power to be both strong and forgiving. You can set boundaries with warmth. You can welcome someone back without losing yourself. You can be soft and still hold your worth. So if he returns, not with promises but with presence, ask your heart. Is he growing? Is he showing up? Is he choosing love over fear this time? And if the answer is yes, then maybe, just maybe, the love you gave him was never lost. It was just waiting for him to become the man who could finally hold it. There's a quiet kind of love that lives in the everyday. It's not loud, it's not dramatic, but it's real. In Chapter 4, we talked about what happens when a man returns, not with perfect words, but with presence. Now let's talk about what happens next. What makes love last? What makes a man want to stay, protect, and choose you again and again? Not because he has to, but because his soul feels at peace with you. The answer might surprise you. It's not in the big gestures. It's not in being perfect. It's in the small things. The way you make him feel seen when he's quiet. The way you reach for his hand when no one's watching. The way you smile at him when he's lost in thought as if to say, "I'm still here." Those are the things that stay in his memory. Not the makeup, not the outfit, not the fancy words, but how you made his heart feel steady, safe, chosen, There's something powerful about being a woman who knows how to love quietly. She doesn't need attention. She doesn't need a spotlight. She just knows how to make someone feel at home in her presence. And when a man feels at home, he builds his life around that feeling. Let me share a story. There was a woman named Nia. She wasn't the loudest in the room, but she had a calm way about her, like she was always listening even when she wasn't speaking. Her partner once said, "With you, I don't feel like I need to be anyone else." That was her magic. She didn't try to fix him. She didn't try to impress him. She just loved him in all the quiet ways no one else did. And that made him want to protect her, not just from the world, but from his own fears. That's what real intimacy feels like. It's not about fireworks. It's about the warmth that stays after the sparks fade. So if you're wondering how to make love last, ask yourself, do I show up with consistency? Do I love without conditions? Do I create a space where both of us can rest? Because in the end, the man who truly sees you will not need you to be anything but yourself. He'll choose you again and again, because with you, life feels less like a battle and more like coming home. And that kind of love, it doesn't just ask for protection, it invites it every single day. Sometimes the people who love us don't know how to say it out loud. They show it in ways that are quiet, hidden, easy to miss unless you know where to look. In Chapter 5, we talked about the power of quiet love, how it lives in small moments, in presence, in peace. Now let's talk about something deeper. The ways a man might be loving you even when he doesn't say the words. Because not every man grew up in a world where expressing emotions felt safe. Some were told to man up when they cried. Some were taught that softness was weakness. And some, they carry so much inside them, they don't even know where to begin. So instead of saying "I love you," he might text you to make sure you got home safe. Remember the small detail you mentioned weeks ago? Offer to fix something that's been broken in your home. Sit beside you in silence when you're having a rough day. Show up not with flowers, but with presence. These are not grand declarations. They are quiet commitments, and they matter more than most people realize. Let me tell you about a woman named Elise. She once said, "He never says much, but when I'm tired, he makes me tea. When I'm sick, he shows up with medicine. And when I'm silent, he holds space." At first, she thought maybe he's not expressive enough, but over time, she saw the truth. His love wasn't loud. It was steady, reliable, unshakable. He didn't love with words, he loved with action. And isn't that what real love looks like? Not what someone says, but how they show up. Now, this doesn't mean words aren't important. We all deserve to hear, "I love you and I'm proud of you and you matter." But sometimes, before the words come, the actions speak. And the way you respond to those actions matters too. When you notice them, really notice, you make him feel seen. And when a man feels seen, he feels safe. So if you're wondering whether he loves you, look beyond the words. Look at the way he looks at you when you're not speaking. Look at how he protects your peace even when he doesn't know how to protect his own. Look at the little things he does not out of obligation, but out of care. And if you feel it in your bones, if something about his presence feels like calm, then maybe, just maybe, you've already found what so many people spend a lifetime chasing. Not loud love, but real love. And that is enough. There's something beautiful about a woman who can love but still protect her heart. She's open but not desperate. She's kind but not naive. She gives, but she also knows when to walk away. In Chapter 6, we talked about how men show love in quiet ways, even when they don't say the words. Now let's talk about something equally powerful. Boundaries. Not walls, not ultimatums, but loving, graceful boundaries that protect your peace and invite the right kind of love to stay. Because here's the truth. Being soft doesn't mean saying yes to everything. Being loving doesn't mean accepting less than you deserve. You can have a big heart and still say, That's not okay with me. You can be deeply caring and still choose distance when something hurts too much. You can be open to connection and still protect your own energy. A man doesn't stay because you give endlessly. He stays because your love is strong and your boundaries are clear. Let me share a story. There was a woman named Serena. She was warm, compassionate, the kind of person who always gave more than she received. But over time, she started to feel tired, not physically, emotionally. She realized she had been confusing love with overgiving. So one day, she did something different. She didn't yell, she didn't fight. She simply said, "I care about you, but I also care about myself." And in that moment, everything changed. Because when a woman values herself, the right man rises to meet her. He doesn't feel threatened by her strength. He feels inspired by it, because now he knows. She won't stay out of fear. She'll stay because it feels right. And that kind of love, it's not about control. It's about choice. So ask yourself, do I express my needs clearly? Do I say no without guilt? Do I protect my time, my space, my energy? Because the more you honor yourself, the more the world learns how to honor you too. Love doesn't grow in places where you feel drained. It grows in spaces where you feel respected, seen, safe. You can be soft, you can be giving, but never forget your heart is sacred. And not everyone gets to hold it. Only those who know how to protect it the way you've always protected others. That's what boundaries really are. They're not a rejection of love. They're an invitation to rise into it. The most powerful kind of love is the one that feels like peace. In Chapter 7, we talked about boundaries, how they protect your heart and call in the kind of love that respects you. But what happens after that? What happens when two people have moved past fear, past proving, past pretending? They find something deeper. They find emotional safety. That's what Chapter 8 is about. Because once the walls come down and the masks come off, what we're all really craving is to feel safe. Safe to be ourselves. Safe to speak our truth. Safe to not have it all together. Love grows where safety lives. When a man feels safe with you, he begins to unfold. And when you feel safe with him, your softness becomes natural again. There's no need to perform, no need to chase, no need to guess. Let me tell you about a couple, Maya and Eli. They weren't perfect. They had their share of hard days and long silences. But there was something sacred between them. They never used each other's pain as a weapon. When one of them shut down, the other stayed gentle. When one of them got triggered, the other didn't react. They held space. They knew how to pause, to listen, to breathe before they spoke. And over time, that built something rare. A bond built on safety, not tension. Trust, not control. Presence, not pressure. That's the kind of love that heals. It's not always exciting. It doesn't always look like the movies, but it feels like home. So ask yourself, do I feel safe to be fully me? Can I express my needs without fear? Do I create safety for others not by fixing them, but by accepting them? Because love doesn't just need chemistry. It needs calm. It needs care. It needs two people who know how to soften when it matters most. And when that safety is there, everything else flows. The intimacy deepens. The connection strengthens. And the love that once felt fragile becomes unshakable. That's where we're headed next. Because when love is safe, something magical happens. You don't just survive love, you expand in it. When love feels safe, that's when something else awakens. Desire. Not the kind that's loud or wild, but the kind that lingers. The kind that makes someone look at you across the room and smile like they found a secret only you and they understand. In Chapter 8, we talked about emotional safety, how it creates space for true connection to grow. Now in Chapter 9, we talk about something many don't expect, how safety creates attraction, deep soul-level desire. Because despite what we've been told, love doesn't get boring when it's calm. It gets deeper, more powerful, more magnetic. Here's the truth. When a woman is emotionally safe, she becomes radiant. She stops shrinking. She laughs louder. She touches softer. She begins to glow not because of someone else, but because she feels free in her own body. And men notice that. Because a woman who feels safe becomes sensual without effort. She becomes confident without noise. She becomes unforgettable not because of how she looks, but because of how she makes people feel. Let me tell you a story. There was a man named Adrian. He once said, "I didn't fall in love with how she looked in a dress. I fell in love with how peaceful I felt sitting beside her watching her read." That's desire rooted in presence, not performance, not pressure, but real lasting chemistry, the kind that doesn't fade with time. Because when a woman is safe, she begins to trust her body again. She doesn't touch to please, she touches to connect. She doesn't move to impress, she moves with freedom. And that kind of energy, it's irresistible. So ask yourself, do I feel safe enough to let desire in? Do I give myself permission to feel good in my skin? Do I let intimacy be soft and powerful? Because desire that lasts doesn't come from chasing or trying. It comes from being, from relaxing into your own presence, from knowing that the right man will not just want your body. Hell want your soul. And hell protect both, because your safety is the very thing that unlocks your magic. That's what Chapter 10 will explore. The quiet magic you carry, and how to let it shine. You've come so far, not just in this story, but in your own. In Chapter 9, we talked about desire, how it blooms when a woman feels safe, when she trusts herself, when she lets her soul lead. Now in this final chapter, it's time to come home, to yourself, because everything we've explored, softness, boundaries, presence, desire, they all point to one truth. You are the magic. Not something you earn, not something you perform for, not something someone else gives you. It's always been in you. The way you love, the way you feel, the way you see beauty where others don't. That's your power, and the right man. He doesn't add to your worth. He reflects it. He holds it gently. He protects what you've already built inside yourself. So if you've ever doubted, if you've ever felt too much or not enough, remember this. You are not here to be chosen by someone who can't see you. You are not here to be fixed, saved, or explained. You are here to be felt, to be met, to be held by someone who says, "You don't have to do anything, just be." Let me leave you with this story. A woman named Grace once said, "I stopped trying to be unforgettable, and that's when I became it." She let go of the rules. She let go of the waiting. She stopped asking, "What do they want?" and started asking, "What feels true for me?" And her whole life changed. Not because someone else finally saw her, but because she finally saw herself. And that changed everything. So here you are now, wiser, softer, clearer, more powerful than you know. And the love you want, it's already on its way. Not because you chased it, but because you became it. You became the love that protects, the love that sees, the love that stays. And that is everything. You don't need to prove your worth. Just return to it again and again, and let that be your legacy. A woman who loved fully and never lost herself along the way. Let's take a moment to breathe. What you've just heard isn't just a story, it's a reflection of something deeper inside you. Remember this. A man wants to protect not the loudest woman, but the one who protects her own heart. True softness isn't weakness, it's the kind of strength that invites real love in. You don't have to earn love. You just have to return to yourself. Now pause. Ask yourself, how can I live this truth today? How can I be soft without shrinking? How can I let love in without losing who I am? The answers won't always come at once, but they will come, one choice at a time, one breath at a time. And if this video helped you remember something important or feel something real, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone you care about. Like it so others can find it. And if you want more videos that speak to your soul, hit subscribe. Because you're not just watching this, you're becoming the kind of woman the world never forgets. See you in the next one.